Hello, I'm Corey, and today is day 8 of the 100-day project and my version of it, which is 6 by 6 in 6. Today's project, which I call a cascading pocket, is brought to you by my grandmother, Olive Libby Thomas Johnson. And this idea was inspired by something, that's Grandma and her sister, something that she showed me a long time ago. And she grew up in the Depression. And one of the things that she and her cousins did was they sent letters back and forth to each other, and then they would tear off the stamps and save the stamps. And many junk journalists today use stamps in their projects because they're cool, and we can do the same darn thing. And with the stamps that she had saved, she had one of these little pockets, and the idea with the pocket is to be able to see the stamps that you save, and then you put it in your stamp booklet. Well, a long time ago, I was a scrapbooker, and I liked the idea that she had shared of using this, thought about how I could use this, and using this, and I used it in scrapbook albums and in the cards that I would make for people. And this is a book I wrote 15 years ago or so. And you can even see in this book that I used the cascading pockets way back when. This is layers so that you can tuck memorabilia or cards or whatever you want in these little pockets. And then another place in the same book, I did it with baby gift cards. My daughter, that's going to make me a grandma this summer, is for her baby page, I used this cascading pocket idea to tuck little gift cards and photos in. So it's been around for a long time. I certainly didn't create the idea, but I've come up with a couple different ways to use it. This was supposed to be the fastest project ever, like even faster than yesterday's. It's just pockets and you're good to go. But then I got to thinking, this traditional way that I've made them works great, but it can be a little bit thick. So today's actual project is cascading pockets 2 different ways. And both ways will take less than 6 minutes to create. So I'm going to show you both. For this project, you will need your glue, wet glue. You're going to need your 6 by 6 paper. You're going to need your scoring board for one of the 2 ways. You'll need a scoreboard for one of the 2 ways, and then you'll need a paper trimmer for the other way. Ink if you're going to ink, and purple tape if you're going to do it the second way. And that'll make more sense when I explain it. And I'm trying something different. I am sitting at a different spot at my desk, and I've got the tripod in front of me, so I'm kind of reaching around to do it. And I know a lot of people do it this way, but until my ceiling mount camera comes in, I thought at least I'm not working from the side, because some people found that annoying. Oh, and on that note, I've been inking and coffee dyeing and working in the yard, so my hands are a hot mess. I apologize for it. And I noticed yesterday at the video at the end that I had a piece of glue on my thumb, so please forgive me for not even paying attention to that. Okay, so we're going to do the first way, the way that I came up with the samples in the book that I wrote a long time ago, and the way this is designed. We'll do that for the first project. And for that, you can use pattern paper. Like you see here in this one, I used pattern paper. But the concept with this one is what you're tucking in the pockets. The benefit is what goes inside the pockets. And being able to save those either in your planner or your scrapbooks or your junk journals, or even for a gift card, like if you're going to put this as an insert inside of a card that you're mailing off to someone. So the benefit is what you're tucking inside. So plain paper seems to work best, but certainly you can use book page or music note paper. It makes it nice and thin if you do it that way. So choose what you want, but I'm using solid paper for that very reason. Okay, so the traditional way, the first way, I'm going to use 2 pieces of 6 by 6 paper, and I'm going to score each one once, and that's it. Another benefit is if you've got paper that's got ugly spots or is a little bit torn or a little bit wrinkled, it's going to hide, so it's not going to show, so it doesn't really matter. Let's see. So the first one I am going to score, the total project, sorry, I meant to mention that before. The total project is 2 6 by 6 sheets of paper, and which is about 15.2 centimeters. And your final project will measure, if you use 6 by 6 paper, it'll measure 6 inches across by 4 3/4, or 15.2 by 12 centimeters. Okay, so you score your first paper at 1 1/4 inch, which is 3.2 centimeters. So, oh wow, that's a long way away to see, sorry. So 1 1/4, you're gonna score it, okay? That's your first paper. And then your second paper, 1 1/4 was 3.2 centimeters. And your second paper, you're going to score at 2 3/8, which is 5.5. So 2 3/8 centimeter, which is 2 3/8 inches, which is 5.5. Okay. And then all you're doing is folding these at your score. Folding them at your score line. And so you've got 2 pieces that are flipped like this. And seriously, all you do is you tuck one in and the other. Now this one, and I've folded it several different ways. I take off 1/8 of an inch, which is about 2 millimeters, I think. I take off about 1/8 of an inch off the top of that because I couldn't, because of the fold and the dimension created by that crease, I couldn't get it to be perfect. And I don't measure it, I just kind of guesstimate, and I take off a thin strip, which is about 1/8 of an inch. And then I tuck it in like this, and I'm done. All I'm going to do next is glue, and then there's my pocket. Of course, if I were going to ink, I would ink all my inside edges prior to gluing anything down, simply because it's a lot easier to ink before you glue. And then I take my inside pocket, so I've got these 2 pockets, my inside piece, and I'm going to put some glue just along. Let's see if I'm in frame here. It's hard. It's kind of awkward to reach around this thing. You guys don't even notice it on the camera, but when you're working on it, it's like, wow, that got in the way. So glue, and then I open up this and I tuck this line it up straight, tuck it all the way down to the edge, and glue it down. Push it down until it's dry. Then I come in. So I've got my inside piece glued to the back piece, and it's tucked down to the very bottom. I open the flap up and put glue on the right edge and the left edge. And then glue that back up, hold it down until it's dry. And the same thing for the bottom. And essentially this makes this is a 3 pocket. You can use more paper for more pockets, or you can fold it in a different spot for less pockets. But essentially this is a 3 pocket piece. And what I mean by that is it goes all the way down to the bottom and the back. 1, 2, 3. And I know this clashes horribly here. I'll turn it over. Goes all the way down to the bottom and the back and gives you 3 pockets. Now, if I were going to glue this in my junk journal, which is what I'd probably do, or my scrapbook page, I would only glue around 2 sides or even 3 sides so that I could have a back pocket as well. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, and 4 pockets. Okay, and that's it. That's your first style done. You can sew it, you can ink it, you can, like I did with the music note paper, you can put washi on the edges if you want to give it a nice finish that way. You know, you can decorate it as you see fit. But again, the purpose of this one is what goes inside the pockets. So there's way 1 done. It is really that simple. Way 2. And the reason I came up with way 2 is because in junk journaling, sometimes things get chunky quick. And if I'm going to tuck ephemera or tickets or cards or journaling spots or photo slides or whatever in these pockets, I've already got the dimension of the paper, and I've got essentially 4 layers of thickness on some of these spots. And it just gets thick fast. So I thought, well, how can I do it and reduce some of that bulk? And if I wanted to use directional pattern paper, how can I do the same thing? And so what I came up with is my second way, which is what I call my cheater way, and I use strips. And this one is my quote-unquote cheater way. And all I did was I cut some strips and I laid them down on top of each other, and then I glued or sewed them down so that I've got 4 pockets this way. Because this is 6 by 6, you are going to want to cut these pieces. You're going to have an 1 3/4, which is 1 3/4 is about 4.2 centimeters. Sorry, 4.2 centimeters. So you want, when you're laying your pieces down, well, this one has a direction. This texture has a direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you're laying these down, you want about 1.5 inches to show because this is 6 inches. So I am going to cut this piece at 2 inches each. That's what I was going to do. So 2 inches, which is 2 inches is about 5 centimeters. So 2 inches and 2 inches. So I've got these 3 sheets at about 2 inches each. And then I've got my back sheet. And then I'm going to just lay this down on my work surface. I've got lines on my work surface. And it's glass and it's slippery, but you know, maybe you use something that's not so slippery. But I found this is so much easier to make sure that I've lined it up straight before I glue it down. So I'm going to tape it in place with my purple tape. And then I am going to use the lines on my grid. And I want this to be 1.5 inches apart. I want them to, the pocket to be, I think that's right, 1.5 inches, and then 1.5 inches, and then, yeah, that's right, 1.5 inches. So I'm going to take my second piece, one of my strips that I just made, and I'm going to line it up with my grid paper. And I'm going to tape it down 1.5 inches apart. And then I'm going to grab my third strip and do the same thing. I'm going to tape it down 1.5 inches from the top of the previous piece. Okay. And then the last piece is 2 inches, so it's going to hang off the bottom a little bit, and I'll just come in and trim that when I'm done. So again, 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. Okay. I would tape it down like this and then just pick it up, and it's lined up exactly where I want. I can, if I'm going to glue this, I'll just lift up my edge. Oh, here, I'm not even going to sew it. If I'm going to glue it, I'll lift up my edge and I'll put glue down the edge. And then I'll come in on the same thing over here and lift up my edge and glue it down. And the same thing on the last one. And that way I'm relatively sure that it's straight. Okay, there's the one piece. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side. Come in. I don't know if you can see that or not. I don't know if this is a better angle or not, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, glue it down 1. Glue it down 2, and glue 3, and push. You can see it's not perfectly lined up here, which means when I trimmed it initially, I wasn't super careful making sure it was exactly 6 inches. Oh, I know why, because this is the 8x8 paper, the Tim Holtz pad, and I cut it down to 6x6. So my cuts weren't perfectly perfect. It's super easy to go in and trim it at the end, because I have to trim off the bottom piece anyway. So you can see down here at the bottom in the back where I, that one strip was a little bit longer with my second strip, my second piece. So I'm going to come in and trim off my bottom. I certainly don't have to, but if I want all my pockets to be the same depth, that's what I'm going to do. And I wouldn't normally use this one, but it's right here. Okay, and then I've got my cascading pockets. The second way, glued. So the fold over way and the glued down strip way. And just depending on the look you want, this is it. I've got because I'm me and it wouldn't be one of my videos without some tips. I've got a couple tips for you and ideas and suggestions and such. So because I used a one whole sheet, I can use the back of this is basically what I'm saying. I can make this a journal spot. I can make it a flip. I can do all kinds of different things because of the way I put these down. A limitation to this particular method is you saw on the first pockets that the pockets go all the way down to the bottom. So they're as deep as you want. Okay. The limitation to this is the pockets. Oh, I didn't glue it. Well, this does work. I haven't glued it down. I didn't glue it down in the center, so I can still keep my pockets deep if I want to. This particular one that I made as a sample was using the standard 8x8 paper, and I cut both pieces into strips, and you can see I've got an opening in the back. And if I want shallower pockets, I have the option of having shallower pockets. I just take a strip and I'll glue it down in the back. And with that strip that I've glued down, it now makes a stop to my pocket. So, oops, sorry, stop to my pocket. So if you want the shallower pockets, like you don't want longer things to go in there, you have that option. This one, instead of cutting one piece in 2 inches, because this was our, 2 inches, this was the 8x8 sheet, I cut both pieces so that I could have an open back, and that would give me the option of having a long pocket that I could stop if I wanted to, so that I could make the shorter pockets. Because again, once you glue down your strip in the back, it stops it. You're not going to go down any farther. And I put my little, well, maybe I didn't, my little tip notes, so I remember to tell you some of these things. Okay, so tips. Thread. So if you're going to sew these, if you're going to sew your pockets rather than just glue them, one of the ways you can do that is your strip pieces. What I do is I just, the 3 different strips that are going on the top, I just sewed along the edge of those. I lined them up on my machine and sewed them up along the edge, and then I'll come back in and cut it and lay my pockets down, and then I've got the sewn edges. Then I'll just come in at the end and sew around the whole thing. And I still, because I haven't sewn it onto my page, I can still use this as a 4th pocket if I want to, and I've got the 3 extra pockets, okay? So that is one tip. Now, if you look at the back of this one, this red was just a little bit lighter than I would have liked to go with this pattern paper. And I wanted some differentiation in the pockets, and if I were going to put, say, like book page pockets in here or coffee dye pockets in here, I didn't mind having some pattern. And I wanted it to be a little bit darker. So I just took my ink blending tool with no fresh ink on it, and I came in and I rubbed around and I darkened it. That's it. It doesn't have that circle spot because I'm just using some, the ink that's already on there. I'm not reloading it or putting fresh ink on. And it'll soften your background for you. Another thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but I had off-white or cream-colored thread in my sewing machine. And really, with this particular one, I would have used black. Well, when I come in and ink it, it inks the thread too. So I've essentially got an older-looking black thread just by going over and inking it. The benefits, again, with the cheater pockets is I can put things as long or as short, because I can come in later on and glue the strip down or leave it open. And it also offers me the opportunity to have 3 pockets or 4 pockets, just kind of whatever I'm wanting. And I don't know if you've noticed, but on these, this particular paper, and a lot of times with cardstock, like this one is a solid core cardstock, so it's black or that color all the way through. But a lot of times, cardstock is not solid color. Well, sometimes, I shouldn't say a lot of time. Where did I put a scrap? Okay, I have no scrap. Well, heck. This particular cardstock is not solid core. So, oh yeah, you can see a little bit right there. This is not. It's got a white center. And you can use your ink pad at the edge to get rid of that white center if you don't want it to show. Or you can use your India ink pen, like these are the Pitt Boss marker pens. And it's permanent. So you can come in and, well, you can see right here, there's a little bit of white. You can come in with this and cover your white if you don't want the white to show. So there's just a tip. There are benefits to both types. I mean, they're both super quick, but one of the benefits to this type is, this would be one that I would put inside a card, a gift card, if I were sending it to somebody. Again, the depth of the pockets here, but it'll hold a whole bunch. The cardstock is pretty strong. And even though it is a little bit thick, I mean, I can use this as a journaling gift or something and put some stamps and a gift card and whatever in it. It just gives you a lot of options, and they're quick and fun to make. And another great way to use your 6x6 paper. So I hope that gave you some ideas. Oh, here you go. I wrote benefit and disadvantages. Benefit is all the pockets are deep. The back is smooth. So if you're doing this again as a, if you're wanting to do it as an insert or a paper clip in, or if you don't want to glue it down, the back is smooth. You can use it for something else. And again, super quick. Disadvantage, especially if you're using cardstock, it can be too thick and the pockets can be too deep. So if you're wanting pockets that are a little less deep, if you're wanting shallower pockets, you'll want to kind of glue your strip there to stop it. All right. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your feedback and your comments. I'm always trying to improve this to make the experience a little better for you. And thank you for watching. Have a blessed day.